Hello everybody. Today marks the 20th anniversary of the release of Linkin Park's debut album, Hybrid Theory. 20 years ago today, Hybrid Theory was released to the world, and Linkin Park unleashed something that will go on to change the course of rock music forever. This album came out at a time when grunge music had pretty much faded into the shadows. Pop, boy bands, and rap were dominating the radio, and in a highly experimental, brand new genre called nu metal was about to conquer the world. Linkin Park knew this, and so they came out as a band in the mid 90s, and they weren't messing around with what they were doing. This album became incredibly successful. This album, Hybrid Theory, is the most successful album of the 21st century, the most successful rock album, the most successful hard rock debut album, the most successful debut album of the 21st century, and one of the first and only one of the few rock debut records to go diamond, and one of the few diamond certified rock albums. This album revolutionized rock music, revolutionized music and just in general, because when Linkin Park came out as a band, what they were doing no one had ever seen before. At least not at that magnitude. Songs that fused heavy metal with hard rock were getting incredible amounts of radio play, radio dominance and presence. I mean, One Step Closer dominated, grabbed hold of the radio in 2000 for essentially all the way. It's for the longest time when that song came out, and when Hybrid Theory came out 20 years ago today, no one had any idea who these guys were. They came from the underground, they came from the shadows. Linkin Park played 45 unsuccessful showcases to major label executives. All 45 of them failed, but even in spite of that, they never gave up on themselves. They fought relentlessly for Hybrid Theory, and they put their blood, sweat, and tears into this album, and it shows. Every song is freaking phenomenal in every way, all the way from paper cut blasts open Hybrid Theory like a splash of cold water straight to the face. This song cracks it open, cracks everything open, introduces you to the band. Paper Cut smashes 3 genres against each other: genre bending, genre jumping, fusing hard rock, heavy metal with rap and hip hop, and having the turntable MC element integrated into the music was something that was unheard of in 2000 and years prior. I mean, there were bands in that time, at that time, 20 years ago, that were doing and were making rock music and have become incredibly successful. Rage Against the Machine, Korn, Deftones. I can probably name a lot more off the top of my head. Korn were on the rise. They had put out their debut album probably about 5 or 6 years prior to Hybrid Theory coming out, which is in 2000. Korn were on the rise. Deftones had just conquered the radio, and they had their hold on the radio before Linkin Park came out. And eventually, when Hybrid Theory came out, people's jaws dropped. One Step Closer dropped as the lead single on September 28, 2000, and people didn't know what to say. They were so stunned. There was this hard rocking, hard charging single with screen vocals scream singing to be more specific, and rap, hip hop element, and rap and hip hop elements. Of course, you had Joe Han on the turntable, doing sampling, mixing, remixing, scratching on the turntable, and then you have the MC element. This record changed the course of rock music, changed the course of just like how people listen to and perceive music. This was one of the first times when Hybrid Theory came out in 2000. It was one of the first times when people could actually go out and make emotionally charged music without getting beat up about it. Because at the time, if you shared your emotions in music and like actually seemed vulnerable about your emotions, that was seen as being weak. Well, what Linkin Park did, they completely changed the rule book, and they tossed the rule book straight out the window. For the longest, when Linkin Park were coming up as a band before they signed to a major label, they were an underground band doing their own thing, doing something completely unique. And after listening to some of their I've listened to a few of the previously unreleased demos that they released prior to Hybrid Theory, they had, like, you could tell, they had talent early on. They had very recognizable talent very early on, from the very beginning of the band up until Hybrid Theory, and everything that this record did for Linkin Park. Like, you could tell even by listening. I listened to a song like Dedicated, which is a demo from 1999. You could tell just by listening to the song, everything that's going on in the song, in terms of the hard rock guitar in the background, the hard rock guitar and drumming, the Mike Shinoda acting as an MC, and Joe Han on the turntable scratching. Like, you could tell they had talent early on. It wasn't, when Hybrid Theory came out, that talent burst into the mainstream, exploded the band, set off a series of events that changed the course of rock music. Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory gaslighted the explosion of hard rock, and heavy metal into the mainstream, and really, like, this album, every song is phenomenal in its own right. Every song remains iconic. Points of Authority, oh my god, I love that song. Points of Authority Points of Authority has an electronic vibe to it. Then Points of Authority smashes three genres against each other. Electronica has a bit of a synthy intro. Then it has the rap, having the rap element for the game. You have the rap element in the song, as well as the screen vocals, MC singing the rap, hard rock, drumming, guitar, and turntable scratching. Really, like, in this album, it's all over the place. In this album, every song is phenomenal. The songs of this album, the iconic single "Crawling" in the end, One Step Closer, and Paper Cut, these songs remain famous to this day. They remain a staple of rock music to this day. And there's a reason why this album went into the diamond status. This album deserves it. Linkin Park, I hope you soldier on as a band. I would love to see whatever you do next. It was this album that started it all, the mission statement, the Hybrid Theory, that ended up working. An experiment that worked, in a mission that has never gone unnoticed. Hybrid Theory started that. Linkin Park, this was their mission statement to the world. This was them showing their teeth, showing the world that they're not afraid, showing those 45 record label executives that they had talent early on, and really they could do anything in their power. They had so much in they went on to conquer the world with their music. Millions of fans all over the world still honor and just like respect their music, hold it in such high regard. This album changed so many lives, and I'm just honored to not only be a fan of the band, to love and enjoy and study their music. Of course, I have Linkin Park Hybrid Theory on vinyl, original vinyl from release day, 20 years ago. Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory has turned 20 years old and is one of, if not my favorite album of all time. If you haven't heard it, you're doing yourself an injustice. Go listen to it. This album will change your life. This album got me into more hard rock music, more music that is more emotional and more hard charging, a little bit more like strong and a little bit more angry, but I commend it for doing that. This is easily Linkin Park's master album, like this is their master work. Everything in this album was produced by Don Gilmore, who is usually, he wasn't necessarily really much of a nu metal or hard rock producer. He had worked with different bands that didn't necessarily do what Linkin Park were doing, but this album skyrocketed that guy's career, and I'm pretty sure he feels pretty happy about himself having mass-produced Hybrid Theory, and now it's diamond certified. 20 million copies of this album sold. Really, I really hope Linkin Park soldiers on as a band. It seems like they will, and I hope they do. Anyway, happy anniversary, Hybrid Theory, the debut album by Linkin Park, released 20 years ago today. See ya later.